All right, this one's a little more specific to something I'm experiencing right now, but I'm noticing a little bit of pain and negative emotions surrounding a need to be right. Um, Something that I use the belief tree on, and I've tried to tap on, and I've traced it down to this need to be listened to. But it keeps coming up, and I don't know, like what, especially like the last 2 weeks, it keeps coming up. How do you suggest releasing something that you've tried to release, but it keeps coming up in your physical reality?
So there's a couple of things to look at. So one, it sounds to me like you've got a feeling of like I'm not being heard, like an unheard feeling.
Yeah,
Does that sound right?
yeah.
And
And I
then
know that it's like a conscious thing. I can reason my way out of it, but
feel it. Yeah.
I still feel it.
So this need to be right. What is right?
Um, I and that's why I think it's like a need to be listened to. Like
Yes.
I
Yeah.
more than it is a need to be right.
Yeah, because if you listen to Bashar, you understand, or Elon, that all truths are true, right?
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as right or wrong. There's just a belief that I choose to believe it, right? So
Hmm.
different people can choose different truths, and everybody has the ability and the right to choose what truths are truth for them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that leads us to the first part that I mentioned was this belief or this feeling of being unheard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 0 to 10, how strong is that unheard feeling?
The last week and a half, like
Okay.
10.
And if we use that process a little bit, I feel like I'm not being heard because
Things keep happening where people don't hear me and I have to repeat myself, or people I'm talking and then people are distracted and then I notice that they are not listening to me.
okay, so they're not present. They're not grounded. They're not zoned in on you. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because, or that makes me feel. So, I've got kids and, sometimes I'm like, go clean up the plate that you left on the counter. And they're so busy in their mind and in their world and doing what they're doing. I have to repeat it like 10 times before they finally get up and go do it. Right. So when I do that, that doesn't trigger me. Right. So you're being triggered for one reason or another, right? Because of there's something underneath this unheardness that's
Yeah.
that's making the unheard, kind of pinch a little bit. So when you're not being heard by these people, how does that make you feel?
Honestly, like I'm a little kid. like
Okay.
I I mean, and I've this came up when I was doing the belief tree too with I just have these memories of being a little kid in the back of the car trying to tell my parents something and them not noticing and giving up and being like, whatever, they're not listening to me, so I'm just going to sit here and read my book or stare
Yeah.
out the window.
And that's a great point. So that's really good self-awareness. So now we're kind of working through those belief tree layers, right? So how would you say that little kid felt when she wasn't being heard in that way?
um like she needed to be bigger,
Okay.
like she needed to be more flashy and like get noticed in a different way.
Okay. So maybe like an unnoticed feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that I'm being unnoticed, that makes me feel
Really small.
small. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we've kind of found the root at the bottom of the tree, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
that's totally it.
now you're a very beautiful person. You got a very beautiful personality. You've got a very loving personality. I'm sure that your husband is madly in love with you. Your inner being doesn't see you as small. The collective members love that you're in the collective. Would you agree with all of that?
Yeah.
And does
Yeah.
that sound like a small person to you?
No.
And I'm pretty sure that you being a teacher that all of your students look up to. I bet you're an amazing teacher that you really connect with the kids. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And I love I part of me feels now, oh, you just made something that question just crack something open because I feel like distance learning, I don't get to see them listen to me as much as I do on a normal basis. So it feels like maybe that's been hiding this feeling from me. Oh my God, maybe that's why it's coming up so much right
Awesome. That's amazing
now.
because now it gives you a chance to let this go. Because you're not small, you're big. You've always been big. And just because your mom and dad couldn't see it, just because at some points friends are tuned out and don't hear you, none of that is an indication that you're small.
Yeah.
Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Awesome. And can you give yourself permission to let that go?
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and how does that feel?
Ooh, really good. Like I'm like shaking. And it feels like I've let go of something that I didn't know was attached to me.
Yeah, and that's very common. Most people are carrying around this baggage from childhood, and don't realize or recognize that it's there, and it's always weighing on your alignment and impacting our vibration. So you letting this go is going to create a positive shift in your physical reality too. So congratulations.
Ooh, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for that.
And do you feel lighter now?
Yeah, I do. I'm shaking a little bit, but I do feel lighter.
Awesome.
How'd you do? It's like I don't. I tried to do that for myself, Nick. I tried.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, remember, so with this belief tree process, and those who aren't familiar with the belief tree process, it's in chapter 5 of the book, and it's something we use a lot in the collective. There's recordings that explain it. So remember, I've been using this process for years and years and years and years, and you guys are pretty, less than a year new to this process, and the more you use it, the more you practice it, the more you're going to be able to decipher emotions to these perspectives. So that's one part of it. Second part of it is when it's our own stuff, we're in the energy of the problem, we're in the quicksand. It's always easier when somebody else is kind of looking in, to identify that stuff and help work through it. So we can only get so far with our own stuff, and sometimes getting the help of somebody who's well trained, can get to things so much quicker.
Oh, that was amazing. That was amazing.
And thank you for letting yourself go there, because a lot of people don't have the courage to be vulnerable, and to look at what they have going on. But that's really the key to success, is to be able to go in and tune in. And that's why you shared so many great manifestation stories with the collective, is because you are doing the work and you are stepping into that and you are doing the morning practice. So give yourself a big pat on your back. And I'm sure that your inner being and your parents and your husband are all very proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.